So the red jasper there's a nice close-up, which I expect. And a piece of stone jasper that large must have been of inestimable cost. But then you think, well, what kinds of suggestions do we get out of the red jasper that's unfolding? And is it a fabric? Is it a sea of jasper? Reflect on that a little bit for us,
Sure.
please.
I would have to do a little more research into the symbolism of color and actually stone. Everything has a meaning. So yes, this here, I would say initially, you can almost picture it as blood, right? But what would that mean? Or what does red mean? Doesn't always mean, let's say, passion as we know it as, or death. In a gory sense, sometimes it means sacredness. So St. Jerome he's in a red shroud, you'll notice. That shows that he is a sacred person and authority. If you think back to the Greeks, and the Roman emperors, they wore purple and red. So it has different symbolism. I'd have to do more research on, and also, of course, coming from medieval, if you think of the numerology that Caravaggio put in there, Bernini very well, stones have magical properties and powers and representations. They are symbolic in themselves. So I'd have to do the research on that, and I would love to find out, what that is, because it could very well be just, if you look at it on the surface, well, it's a contrast. Okay, it could be an artistic choice, but an artist of that level during the Baroque, I hardly doubt it. So it was deliberate, I would say so, but I have to do the research to find out.
Maybe the blood of Christ.
Very well, yeah.
Maybe you hardly even see death, right? I mean, the dominant figure in all your earlier medieval iconographic choices, and then it's interesting. So death only succeeds insofar as he hoists up, right, the hourglass of time, that we take a look to see how much has elapsed in our particular timeline.
Yeah, and it's
brilliant piece of
and
sculpture.
the action, again, the fact that you can have action in something that's
very
still,
dramatic.
he's just getting ready to push up
Yeah.
the shroud. But that's not for us. It's not our time. We're reminded of it, but it's for him, the Pope there. And again, and this is enormous. This is bigger than a human being. So it's taller than Eric, I would say. So, and he's 6 something. So these are enormous. So the effect of it, just by overwhelming the senses, that is a huge part of Baroque rhetoric. And of course, this is tucked away in a teeny little corner of St. Peter's, which is enormous in its own right. So just overwhelming the senses, that has effect in the Spinozan sense. That is very important. And as you see here, there's more jasper there.
Yes,
there's different, the green is here,
yes.
so and green here. So what is all this? And of course, I would say purity, the contrast of purity with the pure white, because that's the virtues and the Pope.
The placid, peacefulness. But then those are faux columns in the sense they're not structural,
right.
but it shows the new edifice clearly, right, of a new way, a new kingdom.
Exactly, and of course the underworld from the ancient mythologies. This is the world, and of course in St. Peter's itself, there's the underworld and stretching to the heavens. But the fun part is, this is off the internet. The other picture is mine. I couldn't get a good shot of it, but under here, this is where the actual sarcophagus of the Pope is. So this is symbolic of time, where it moves forward, where here comes death from the underworld to come get the Pope, and then this is his actual resting place down here, which is awesome. And it has this door that closes, and then you can't see it. So it's phenomenal. I could just live in the Vatican. But yes, I agree. There's a lot more to be done that I need time and money and grants to go there. Anything else from you? All right, Dr. Tracy?
Well, I actually think this is the beginning of many grants for you. But one of the messages that I've been throwing at you off and on is the money. So you made a point about the Berninis, and that brings me back to, folks are knowing, if religion were a thing that money could buy, the rich would live and the poor would die.
Right.
And it was the indulgence, wasn't it?
Yes.
That sparked the question to the church.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then you have the money maybe being used to buy back. Again, I will say, Amanda, you gave me a lot to think about in this morning and throughout your research.
Well, I appreciate your support, and actually she has given me a good lead with Milton and Crashaw, which would be going up into England. So that's another point of expansion that I just couldn't do in this project, because otherwise, I'd be a grad student forever, which is fine if they defer my loans forever, but they don't. So, but yes, your ideas very much give me wonderful ties to possibilities outside of Rome and Italy itself. So,
No, I want you to go to Rome.
oh yeah.
We want more pictures like your final one.
Yes, and actually this summer we are going, so. And hopefully I can write off some of it.
Oh, this is Eric?
Yeah, that's my famous Eric. For those of you that haven't met Eric, he exists. In 10 years, people doubted he exists. But yes, I am looking very much, and again, as I go, I'm going to get more and more ideas. This helped me to organize where I want to go, what I need to take pictures of, and what I'm looking for as I'm being rushed through the Vatican at 100 miles an hour by a tour guide, by all these things. But yeah, it gives me a much better platform to work from for further research and how to make the most of my time when I'm
Get a scholar pass.
Yes, and letters and all that sort of thing. That'd be fun.
Ahead of time.
Yes, yes. So, that good? Okay.
Okay, I have one final question. I'll ask you many questions, but one to ask, in your great formulation of the memento mori, you've done a great job connecting all the different faces, all the different efforts they make, and how that memento mori reappears under different dynamics, right? This time you said, the Catholic Church was not so much in the position of trying to justify itself and kind of tagging along with Tom's first question. What about the connection with the Protestant economy of salvation, and particularly thinking about predestination? Because there's no iconography, there's no such iconography in the Protestant Church, not even a Christ on the cross, and this need to reaffirm, right, which is very typical of the Counter-Reformation, of course, explodes in the arts, but does it have, in your opinion, any connection with predestination? The way that Protestants are proposing that it doesn't really matter. You don't have, to work your way or to even think about time going by or death, right? Kind of this cancellation of the whole worry altogether.
Yeah.
Right? What do you think that the memento mori from the Catholic Church isn't a little bit a counterattack to that proposal? Still?
Possibly. It's the arrogance of how dare you challenge the Catholic Church. Again, it's the time of quite a lot of social, psychological disruption. And because of that, this is our entire way of how we look at our lives and where we go afterwards. That had this foundation that was a millennia old or more. And so when it became, again, it's that challenge of the individualism, the rise of the individual. And how do you compromise that, or how do you work with that within the confines or within the creeds that are declared by the church and the sacred writings and the ideologies and the philosophies and so forth. So Yeah, there is that idea of, well, let's not get too carried away with the rise of the individual because we don't want to commit the sin of pride, right? So it will still come when God decides. So you're still at the mercy of whatever happens. However, there is that predestination that it's going to happen, but how do we, again, put ourselves in a place where we are right with the church? And what does the Catholic Church say about what that means? And what does the Protestant Church say about what that means? And actually the text that I included in my literature review, The Better Papist Than Calvinist, very interesting in that the Lutherans were sort of caught in the middle between the Papists, who this was, wow, huge idolatry, over the top, way too much. So it's actually mimetic correction if you think of it as a pendulum. So they thought the Papists were way over here, over the top, too much idolatry, so you got to come back. Unfortunately, the Calvinists, they went all the way and delved into iconoclasm, which the Lutherans weren't so keen on. So again, Heel's article talks about how they had to try to balance, okay, what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, what is a good message for our flock, what gets them in the right path, that straight and narrow, rather than putting them towards the hedonism, as Dr. Martin was talking about, or the fundamentalism of the Calvinists, where it's stripped of everything, and because it does serve a purpose. So it wasn't going, the Lutherans didn't go so far as the Reformed Catholic Church, but it was in between with a different message of how the art worked. And that actually is a place I'd like to pick up, especially going into Northern Europe, to see how this all worked in the Protestant world. So that's another great league that I need to look into.
And Loyola and Calvin were students together in class at the University of Paris.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
all of
there's
those.
a Council of Trent on the one hand, but there's also all those debates going on in Paris.
Yeah, and of course, you could dive into the entire rabbit hole of history, which that's another career in itself. If I went for another degree, Eric would leave me. He would just, nope, I'm done. But no, that's the fun part of being a comparative studies student, is that I can play on all these disciplinary sandboxes. And if I want to go get lost in the history for a bit, I can. And I know how to, I've been trained to. And making all these wonderful ties and connections. So yeah, that is another avenue that at least maybe make a chapter out of it, hopefully. Hopefully not a whole book series.
Yeah.
Too much to do.
So I have
Thank you.
one more thought or an important part of your dissertation project is, I think, preparing the reader to respond to those images in a way different from the way we would respond today, right? In the age of Freddy Krueger or Wes Craven or what, especially like the transy tombs and so forth. And so I really appreciated how you took extra pains to contextualize what you're doing.
As I was going through and I was looking at the metaphysical and thinking again more about that moral side of the memento mori, it's a powerful thing. You put your finger on a very powerful thing here. One main point is I was wondering if the medieval four levels of interpretation are still in play, and so that you might think about that as the project develops or goes on to be published and so forth, whether that maybe lines up the physical reality of death, the moral, the spiritual, and then of course the anagogical, and that all of those are simultaneously available and indeed kind of stacked up, and I think you pretty well see it there as these complex texts, art forms unfold to us. So anyway, I thought the four levels of interpretation might be a useful thing as you're working through that material, even the Ignatian disciplines of meditation kind of, and maybe there are even more levels, but the way you ascend.
For some close objects, and then this slow spiritual ascent